This is the final lesson in a 4-part series on the CAGED system, which is a common way to visualize the fretboard. This lesson focuses on the relationship between CAGED chord forms and major scales and how those scales connect across the fretboard. This final lesson builds on the first 3 lessons. If you're not familiar with the CAGED system, I suggest checking out those first 3 lessons. Links are in the description. I'm going to play a series of D major chords using CAGED shapes, and as I do this, notice how they connect. This C shape shares the same root as the A shape, which shares these 3 notes, with the G shape, which shares the same root as the E shape, and that E shape has this note in common with the D shape, and if I could play high enough, this D shape would share these 3 notes with the C shape higher up the neck. Check out the previous video for a closer look at these connecting points, and a quick reminder, links for the first 3 lessons are in the description. We're going to stay in the key of D major, but this time we're going to expand to D major scales. This C chord shape comes from this major scale form. We're going to call this the C scale form so we can correlate the two. Now I'm going to be playing a D major scale because I'm playing this starting on the note D. And the previous lesson explains why we would call this the C shape or the C scale form. So here's the scale. These are the notes from the scale that are included in the C chord shape. All the scales in this lesson are common major scale forms, which I've covered in other videos. I'll leave links for some scale videos in the description. This A chord shape comes from this major scale form. You can probably guess we're going to call this the A scale form. It sounds like this. That's the A scale form. I just played a D major scale because I started that on the note D. These are the notes from that scale that are included in the A chord shape. And just as the C and the A chord shapes overlap, so do the C and A scale forms. You could play a D major scale like this with the C form, or you could play it just a little bit higher on the neck using this other form. To help correlate the scale forms and the chord forms, I suggest playing a major scale and then right after that, play the major form that comes out of that scale. So C scale form, and then play the C chord form right after it, and then the A form. And then the chord. Before we connect more scales and chords, I'm going to very briefly let you know that I teach private guitar lessons online and have several guitar books and solo arrangements available. If you're interested, check out my website. The link's in the description. Staying in the key of D major and moving up the neck, we have this G chord shape, which comes from this G major scale form. And these are the notes included in the chord shape. There's quite a bit of overlap between this G scale form and the A scale form. Moving up the neck a bit more, we have this E chord shape, which comes from this E major scale form. And these are the notes that are included in the chord shape. Quite a few notes, well, 6 of them, as a matter of fact. And once again, these 2 scale forms share some notes. While the D and the A chord shapes only share 1 note, the root, the scale forms overlap quite a bit. So this D chord shape comes from this D major scale form, just like the the higher strings of it. And these are the notes that are included in that chord shape. I'm going to show you a couple ways you can practice connecting these scales. This is useful for shifting to accommodate a melody, or if you're improvising, sometimes you may want to just move to another area of the fretboard. In the first exercise, we're going to start as low as we can on the fretboard, given the scale we're playing. We're going to work our way up the neck one scale form at a time in the caged order, C-A-G-E-D. You won't necessarily start with the C form. Where you begin in the caged order depends on what key you're in. I'm going to show you how we can do this in the key of F major, but make sure you do this in other keys as well. In the key of F major, and using major scale forms that are movable, the lowest place we can play it would be right here, using the D scale form. So we just play the form. And then we go in the caged order. So that was the D form. And then after the D, it kind of wraps around to the C form. So we're going to play an F major scale using the C scale form. That begins right here. So we're moving from this area of the fretboard to this area of the fretboard. Next in the caged order is A. So we play the A scale form, so we're moving up slightly. Next is G, and that takes us over here. And then the E form. Once you're comfortable playing each form in succession, you can try playing them continuously, flowing from one form to the next. There are different variations you can make up, but one way to get started might be to choose two adjacent forms and connect them on the first string. We're going to stick with F major scales, but again, you can do this in all keys. We'll start at the end of the neck with this D form. This is an F major scale, but it's the D scale form. Play up the form. Now we're going to play back down, but instead of playing down in the same form, we're going to shift over so we can continue downward in the C scale form. So shift over. Play back up. Now we're going to play down, but this time we're going to go back to the original form we started with. And connect that way. Let's do the same thing, connecting the C to the A scale form. In F major, this is where we'd start our C scale form. Now instead of playing down in the same form, we're going to shift over so we can connect and use the A scale form. Play all the form and back up. Now we're going to play downward, but as soon as we run out of fingers, we're going to shift over to the first form. And then do that with the rest of the forms in different keys. Check out this video if you need help learning the fretboard, and check out this playlist for more scale lessons. And for more guitar lessons, music theory, and solo guitar arrangements, please subscribe.